All right, good morning, good morning. We are ready to get started. Welcome to all of our students. All right, we are live streaming this morning, so you can go back to review and prepare with me. I share the screen. It's good to have y'all in this morning. All right, this morning we're gonna do a chapter glossary review, so term review, and then we'll move into chapter 8. All right. And so what I want, like I stated before, you gotta figure out a good way for you to study your terms, okay? So these are the terms here. Where's my water? Where's my water? So if these are the terms here, I want you so much not to memorize the word for word, but you do have to get it down pat where there are a few words. You got to be able to summarize it so you know what we're talking about, okay? I'm going to click on a word, and I really want you to use your chat. Okay. I'm gonna click on a word, and I want you to use your chat box. And when you see this word, and no matter what word I click, what comes to mind? What is the one thing that you remember from these terms? Okay. I'm gonna put save here. We have amino acids. Amino acids are associated with the components that make up hair. Okay. When you think about amino acids, you just think about N bonds, hydrogen bonds, cones, things of that nature. Okay. So that's one. Addition phase, some ones we just went over yesterday. So when you think of addition, catagen, and telogen, the addition phase talks about what? What is going on during the addition phase? Since this is a review from yesterday, everybody is able to participate. So the addition phase, what's going on during the addition phase? I need to hear it in the chat. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning. It is hair growth. Yes, hair growth is going on in the addition phase. And how much of the hair is in the addition phase at any time? How much of the hair is in addition phase at any time? Okay, let me take note. 90%. 90% of hair, of your hair, is in the growing phase. All right. 90% of your hair is in the growing phase. Good job, Teresa. And I am taking note of those who are participating. Catagen phase. Let's look at adagen. Also known as the growth phase, hair phase during which new hair is produced. Absolutely. So it's the growth phase, and then we have new hair being reproduced. All right, catagen. When you think of the catagen phase, what are we thinking of? What's going on during the catagen phase? Anybody? What's going on during the catagen phase? Anagen, catagen, telogen. We talked about it yesterday. What's going on during the catagen phase? It's the transition. All right. You're preparing for one to go out and for one to come back in. It is the catagen phase. Okay. It's a brief transitional period. You also may hear them say resting phase of a hair follicle. Okay. It's the end of hair growth. And now we just chilling. Right. That's the catagen phase. And since we talked about it yesterday, let me go to the telogen phase. Please use your checkbox. So we know anagen is growth, catagen is resting. What is telogen?
I'm driving right now, Miss Cosmo, but I believe
Okay,
intelligent is the phase where it falls off or is
you're
um
correct.
yeah,
Shedding.
shedding. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
sorry.
absolutely correct. Be careful driving. Thank you. All right. She was absolutely correct. It is the shedding phase, the resting. Now, here's the thing your book may have 3 to 4. This is also known as resting, the final phase in the hair cycle where it lasts until fully grown hair is shed. Most commonly known, it is the shedding phase. So don't get it rest from catagen over into telogen and then it falls out. So you're growing, then you're resting, and then you're shedding. Okay. The whole while new hair is prepared, is being introduced, and new hair is beginning to grow. All right. Let's look at vellus hair, lanugo hair, and terminal hair. So we got lanugo hair right here. Lanugo hair. Well, let me go back to there's 3 categories of hair: lanugo, vellus, and terminal. Okay. Lanugo hair, mostly you'll see on newborns for a few weeks. It's that soft, downy hair. Okay. Um, Mostly carries no pigment. Short, fine hair that covers a fetus and generally sheds within a few weeks of birth. Exactly right. And then we go over to vellus. Vellus hair is short, fine, unpigmented. You're gonna find this comes in after lanugo exits, but you can find it all over the body except the palms of the hand, soles of the feet, and lips. All right. This is what people call sometimes the peach fuzz. Okay, all over the body. It's hair there, but you know it's hard for you to see it. Sometimes this is what's on the arms. This is what is on the face when we do dermaplaning. And a lot of times when we're waxing, we'll put powder on the skin. It preps and calms the skin down, but it also helps you identify where the hair is that needs to be removed. So that's vellus hair. Short, fine, unpigmented hair that appears on the body, often referred to as peach fuzz. All right. Terminal hair. It has pigment. It's on your head anywhere 4 to 6 years, 10 years max. Okay. It's longer, it's coarser. We have this hair on our scalp, legs, arm, and other parts of our body. That's terminal hair. So making sure you know the difference between those. When it comes to hair color, you have eumelin and pheomelin. All right. Eumelin is going to be the brown, black pigment in hair. Pheomelin is going to be the red. Yellow to red pigment found in natural blondes to red heads of hair. Okay. Um, we have established that anybody could on the earth can fall within either of these commentaries. I have seen African or black people with pheomelin genes, pheomelin melanin cells. And what that simply says is, yeah, they're a black person, but they have this red hair or they have like an orange ginger like hair. And some of them are born with blonde hair and blue eyes. All right. So even though we see our world. We live in the United States and we think our world is the United States. If you travel around the globe, you will start to see more people that look like you, but they have different characteristics. When it comes to facial features, when it comes to um, DNA specimens. So that makes you really say, a black person with blonde hair, a black person with blue eyes. And my grandmother, I'm gonna tell you this short story. My grandmother was so light, not fair skin. She was so, her skin was so much lighter. She could have passed at a time for a white woman. Okay. She always had interchangeable eyes. So in the summer they're one color, in the winter they're another color. And then they gradually go back and forth. So her brothers, a couple of her brothers, my uncles also had fair skin. They wasn't as light as her, but they had ginger, like red, orange. Some people call it dusty brown, but it literally came out of their scalp like orange. Okay. And so again, genetic makeup, things of that nature. We don't know. One thing I can tell you, we try people write these books and they get really, really close, but I don't want your mind enclosed to just the textbook, okay? So even though we have examples of you melanin and field melanin, we do need to know around the world there are other people that don't look like us. They have totally opposite of what we learned in the book. And in those cases, you would study and do your research. Okay. You'll fall more in love with the why and the how. Okay. So that's field melanin. So the one with P is the red and blonde, and U melanin, the one with the E, is the brown and the black. All right. Let's look at trichology. So once you get your license, you can go back to school and say, hey, I just want to focus on trichology. It's a scientific study of hair and its diseases and care. So that's all you do is study hair and its diseases and care. Once you become a trichologist, some people say trichologist, you are not concerned with the style. You are more concerned with why is your scalp like that? Why is this happening? So you're researching to find solutions. All right. And so that's a trichologist. And the reason I say you don't have to worry about clients, simply because a trichologist is considered a hair doctor. That means anytime you have a doctor and then they are treating hair and scalp issues, they're mostly getting billed. They are building the insurance companies. All right. And so the insurance companies would then, vouch, verify, and send a check to the trichologist. Okay. The person, of course, getting the service needs to have I would prefer them to be military or have a short program that we can go through from um, and get billing. And the reason why I said military, because military building is a little sweeter. And military pays for a lot of services, and people probably don't think that they do pay for a lot of skin and body services. So I just opened up another can of worms because maybe you guys thought when you get a license you had to go work in a suite or you had to go work in a shop or something of that nature. Um, you can do that, but also you can do this and then you can cater to um, those officers or civilians now, those that have been on certain discharges, and you provide their needs, and then the military pays you continuously for that. If you got a friend in medical billing and coding, that friend, think about bringing that friend in as a partner or something that's beneficial to them, and they will know the codes to send up to the insurance companies so you can get paid. All right. But remember, there's a process for everything. So you may not want to be a hairdresser. You may want to be a part-time hairdresser, but a full-time doctor of hair. And so that's something for you to look into. I wanted to look at keratinization. It's the process of, it's the process by which newly formed cells in the hair build, mature, fill with keratin, move forward, and lose their nucleus and die. So the keratinization process takes the hair that's been formed in the dermal papilla, the matrix, and starts to infuse it with keratin. Keratin is protein. Okay, so right along with the hair receives its melanin, it also receives its protein. It is alive inside of the follicle, but once it skirts outside of the follicle, it is not no longer alive. But keratin is about 90% makeup of the hair. So when the hair is split, broken, whatever's going on, you will make sure that guess what? You replace what's missing, the keratin. Sometimes our hair misbehaves because it's sending us a signal saying, hey, you're missing something where we don't have these elements. We need some keratin. Okay. So 9 times out of 10, that particular keratin will go on to strengthen the hair, strengthen the elasticity, strengthen the porosity levels. It's great for it to be steam treatment. So you have the keratin on in steam treatment. Um, some keratins require you to get the hair brick hard. If you had an opportunity to use a straightener like that, you would place the protein all over the hair, and then you would comb it to the back, and you'll put them under the hood dryer. The hood dryer is going to dry the protein into the hair. Instruction says the hair should not be disturbed. You should go straight to the bowl and let it start rinsing and breaking down. Okay. But that's the keratinization process. All right. Hair texture. We mainly fall into hair texture. This is the thickness or diameter of the individual strand. So texture, we are associating it with the actual hair that you see. There could be multiple different textures. There's fine, there's medium, and there's coarse. Okay. Of course, coarse can last a little longer, can take a little bit more. It is not equivalent to fine. Okay. It's not equivalent to fine hair because fine hair can also be thin. Fine hair can also be thick. And so, fine hair, you sometimes don't have the medulla and you can't take as strong of ingredients or products, um, and even a whole marketing concept behind it. You have to make sure you know the difference between fine hair, medium hair, and coarse hair, because the questions could really mess you up. Let's talk these terms here, and you're always going to see them. Hair cuticle, the outermost layer of hair formed from cells that resemble shingles on a roof. The cuticle protects the cortex. You got 9 to 12 layers of cuticle. Okay. It protects the cortex. If you're going to do a relaxer, you would need to break down the cuticle in order to change that bond that makes the hair straight. You have some relaxers that are time release, which means after a certain time that it's being applied, it will release and then it will start moving about working where you want it to work. All right. Um, when we also look at the cuticle, it protects the cortex. All right. So if we're killing the cuticle on the outside, there's nothing protecting the hair that has been colored, hair that has been relaxed on the other side. So these all would go hand in hand. Okay. Hair density. I'm going to give you a couple of terms. When you think about density, think of the amount of hair per square inch. All right. The amount of hair per square inch. Density is the number of hairs you have on your head. I want everybody to remember that. Density is the number of hairs you have on your head. Hair elasticity, ability of the hair to stretch and return without breaking. Think about a rubber band. All right. The hair in a healthy state should be able to be pulled and then let go, and those strands ravel up. All right. And so that's great elasticity. Poor elasticity is going to be when you stretch it and it just breaks off. All right. So that tells me my hair needs to be strengthened. What did I just process that I just talked about? Talks about strengthening hair, the keratinization process. So this client needs to, their hair needs to be treated. All right. The hair follicle is a tube-like depression. It's like a house that holds the follicle, that holds the hair root. Hair porosity, one word is moisture, the ability of the hair to absorb moisture. All right. The ability of the hair to absorb moisture. And that's it. Hair root, the part of the hair located below the surface of the epidermis. All right. Everything goes on at the hair root. This is where we start forming. This is also where we start adding color and the strength of the hair. So we are growing out. Okay. Growing out. A hair string is like a whirl. Okay. And you can find it in a circular motion in different parts of the scalp and the hairline. All right. The cortex. Where's the cortex? There we go. Fibrous protein layer of the hair responsible for strength, elasticity, color of hair. Okay. Now, cortex is very important. It says responsible for the strength of the hair, the elasticity, the moisture, the color of hair. All right. And so this is something we need to make sure that we understand. You will see these terms again. Cones element. Can somebody unmute and tell me what cones represent? Can somebody unmute and tell me what cones represents? Okay. Cones represent the elements of hair. Okay. When hair is being built, we have these elements that help keep it and maintain it hair.
I can name the elements.
Okay, let's go.
Um it's carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur.
Yes, yes. Good job. Good job. Good job. And a lot of times when we look at damaged hair, when you look at hair that needs repair for whatever reason, you have to think of what the hair is made up of. Something is missing for the hair to look or feel this way. And so a lot of times we look for products that are detoxifying, okay? Products that are hydrating or moisturizing. Even products we used to use back in the day, I've never been fond of it, is Sulfur 8. And people say, oh, my hair grows with Sulfur 8. And in my head, I'm just like, cha-ching, because your hair was probably missing sulfur and then sulfur was replaced. And so now you're back balanced again. Okay. And so that's something to always look at. Just check it out. And those are just a few terms, that I wanted you guys to look at. Okay. Medulla is absent and fine to very fine hair, which means medulla, if it's absent and fine to very fine hair, which means it processes chemicals really, really fast. All right. And so the time that you would think to process a color over here may take half the time. Okay. And then last was melanin. Melanin is the pigment, tiny grains of pigment in the cortex that give natural color to the hair. So melanin is found in the cortex in order to chemically permanently change the texture, change the color of hair, you gotta first go through all that cuticle. Then you gotta get to the cortex and start working. Okay. Um, and we will continue to talk about it. But these were just some terms I wanted to introduce to you guys as we prepare to close out. Please study your terms. Please know your terms, okay? Know your terms. It's very important for cosmetologists to know what you're talking about. All right. Let's look here. I'm going to take 2 minutes and go get my bottle of water. But let's look here at Chapter 8, Hair and Scalp Disorders and Diseases. These are our objectives. Stay tuned here. Y'all start reading that. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going in and get my water. All right, got my water ready to roll. All right. So as we look here, our learning objectives for this particular chapter, again, it may be intensive because as you just, continuously learn about the hair and scalp, you're going to talk about that forever now. But we got to explain the importance of understanding hair and scalp disorders and diseases. So what happens now that we see people with different things going on with their hair and scalp, you'll be able to put a name to it. And you also had the opportunity to say, let me figure out what treatment, what's the solution, so we can solve these issues, okay? We're going to explain the causes of most common types of hair loss. You're going to identify the most common hair disorders and identify the most common scalp disorders. That falls into our category all the way around. Most of the time when people have issues with their hair and scalp that the cosmetologist cannot service, they would send them over to a dermatologist, but they should be sending them to a trichologist. This is what you study. This is what you specialize in, the doctor of hair, okay? You specialize in what's causing the problems. And most of the time when they send them over to a dermatologist, the dermatologist can only do so much. So yeah, they may give you medications, creams, and you see something temporary relief, but you stop using it, you're going to see those issues come back up again. Okay. So yes, I will work hand in hand with a dermatologist just so I can explain what's going on with the hair and scalp a little bit better. They're the physician. So they're the one diagnosing and writing the prescriptions, but I can be there as a sounding board as well to help direct them. So in most cases, that's what I would do, was collab with a dermatologist or now collab with a trichologist. And really hair loss specialists and trichology has been really, really popular lately. And so I wouldn't be surprised if I saw younger people, or those licensed 1 to 5 years going back to become a doctor of hair. I would not be surprised. All right. Let's study. It says, why study hair and scalp disorders and diseases? Number one, contraindications. You need to understand what you can do and what you cannot do as a cosmetologist. Anybody that comes in our salons, we cannot just say, hey, let's tackle them. There's an analysis and consultation that must be done, where a lot of people mess up and done prior to the service. They get them in a chair, get the drape pulled back and put them in the bowl, and then you start seeing these little gray little eggs pop up, these little white eggs pop up, and baby, it's too late. You got to throw that cape away. A lot of people will bleach it. I would throw the comb away, throw the cape and everything away, because those are eggs for headlights and they're transferable. I would bleach that neck of that bowl, everything down. We can't service that until this person goes to the doctor and get it treated. Okay? We can't service them at all. Anything communicable that jumps from one client to the next. And just take someone that does not clean the shampoo bowls and things of that nature. You don't clean nothing. Okay? You're not cleaning anything. And your client comes, you're not even aware because you're talking, you haven't looked through her scalp. You're just putting the shampoo on. All right? Now you got your hands, if you don't have any gloves, it's under your nails. You go home, cook food. You're started to transfer it. Or it is residue is left on, maybe some lights dropped off, and it sits on the neck of the shampoo bowl. You don't clean it. You just take your new client and tell her to lay down on the bowl. We don't know why all of a sudden her hairline is shrinking. It's coming out. Her follicles are shrinking. She has a lot of itchiness and things like that. Maybe the beginning stage of an infestation of head lice. And so we have to be very, very careful with that. Okay. So you need a thorough understanding of hair and scalp disorders to recognize what is treatable and what you cannot treat. We always want to do something that ain't within our scope of practice, okay? You are considered the expert. So with you being considered the expert, you got to be ready for any question that will come. And you also have to ask questions, okay? I, in a minute, will ask a lady about their menstrual cycle. And I'm going to ask them what age did they start? Have it always been consistent? Are you 7 days, 3 days, 4 days? Tell me, when do you take birth control pills? Are you on a shot? Do you have an implant? All of those questions are going to help me determine what's really going on with the hair. Okay, here we go. Here's your thorough understanding. Identify the differences between common and irregular hair loss. Uh, Helps better recommend client hair loss treatments. And so you will learn about alopecia. Okay, we hear that term all the time, alopecia. But there's so many different types of alopecia. So when your client say, "Hey, they're shedding hair," or "Hey, they got a lot of stuff going on," I'm often asking questions about when did they notice this change in their hair? What season of the year was it? Okay, what's their salon routine? Do they use combs behind anybody? Do you use clean towels? If you're coming from a different salon, tell me what you have seen. I don't need to know who it is. Just tell me what you've seen, and I may can help regulate what it was, and then move forward from there. When I talk about alopecia, there's marginal alopecia. Let's just start there. Marginal alopecia, where you get ready to go in and braid hair, and your braids are farther. They start your follicles are shrinking for one, and then you have to pull the hair together, and it looks like the braids are spaced out. Okay, that's because the follicles have shrunk, and you have lost hair in those areas. This is marginal alopecia. You're wearing a quick weave, and you for years taking it out, applied it the same way, take it out the same way. And when I look at your hair, I can just see lines, marginal alopecia. Okay. Can marginal alopecia be affected by men? Yes. Can it affect men? Yes. Okay. Marginal alopecia. Um, and let me type it in. Marginal alopecia. Okay. Also, you have alopecia areata. All right. You find this in round or irregular spots. It's usually a hair loss associated with stress. Period. A hair loss associated with stress or medications. Once stress and medications are adjusted, you will find that alopecia areata goes away. Okay. So here's what we have to remember. With alopecia areata, someone say, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" We can smile and give them the okay, but we can trick people, but we can't trick our bodies. Our brain is saying, "No, no, she ain't okay. She has too much stress." And this is what happened to a lot of women. And I'm gonna give you another alopecia. Um, we have our brain, and then we have our central nervous, the nerves that flow from the brain. Okay. Most times there's an alopecia, and it's called androgenetic alopecia. So you could go from alopecia areata to androgenetic alopecia. And how the both of these come into play. The first sign usually is the hair on the top of a woman's head starts to thin. Okay, the hair on a woman's head starts to thin. That area can get wider and wider and wider until it connects with the sides. And this is where the edges become very thin as well. Okay. And so when the top starts to thin and get wider, it will eventually connect with the sides that are receding as well. Women that have androgenetic alopecia, this is the female form of male pattern baldness. It's the female form of male pattern baldness. So with Arietta, round irregular patches caused by stress and medications. When we got androgenetic alopecia, the nerve at the base of the brain starts, there's pressure starting to put on those nerves. When the pressure, or you can call it energy, when pressure / stress gets placed on the nerves can only take so much. Okay, does it sound familiar? And once the pressure becomes so overwhelming, it almost feels like it breaks the nerve. This is where they get the term nervous breakdown. So, although we're studying cosmetology, what's the key is to make sure you don't put stress on the what? You don't put stress on the what? What do you think? You don't put stress on the nerves because it could directly affect hair, skin, and nails. And when it comes to the hair, you will start to lose hair in patches. And then if you already have a condition, it can really go forward, which means you wouldn't set to lose hair to start losing hair to like late 40s, 50s. You can make it start earlier. Okay. And so marginal alopecia is within the partings. Alopecia areata is round to irregular patches due to stress. Once stress is resolved and things of that nature, you will start to see the hair come back again. All right. And then we have androgenetic alopecia. When it's not treated, you go into a whole nother realm. Androgenetic alopecia is the male pattern baldness in women. All right. And so a lot of times it can be man anticipated, which means things that we do on the outside that can cause our hair to fall out, but mostly it is genetic. Okay. Mostly it is genetic. And then you have traumatic alopecia. Traumatic alopecia is hair loss due to a sudden pull, a sudden yank, things of that nature. So I'm going to say fighting, and someone has braids or hair and you're just being pulled. That's traumatic alopecia. Your scalp is going, what is going on? Okay. It is traumatic alopecia when you have a lot of hairs removed really fast in one direction. Okay. You cause trauma to the hair and scalp. When you cause trauma to the hair and scalp, that area needs to heal. It needs to heal. Okay. And what the results are, you may get it back, you may not get the hair back. All right. So that's why I like to always ask clients like what's going on so we can continue to move forward. And I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I need to find out what's going on so we know what treatment to move forward. Okay. That's what identifying the difference between common and irregular hair loss. All right. Next, recognizing communicable scalp and hair conditions. So this is going to be a fun chapter, a really, really fun chapter. because the things that is asking you to do, you're already been doing it. Okay, so recognizing communicable scalp and hair condition. We talked about eczema. We talked about contact dermatitis. This is just going to be a refresher. Okay, um, there's a term called kanishis. Kanishis. Canshis. Kanishis. All right. Kanishis is gray hair. That's a technical term for kanishis. All right. And then there's congenital kanishis. So gray hair can come in with age. The older you get, the more you're going to see. Or it could be a DNA malfunction where you're born with some form of gray hair, whether it's in a spot, patch, whatever. Okay. Or white hair. But that term is called kanishis.
I have a lot of kanishis.
You have a lot of kanishis. I have a lot of kanishis too. That's why I'm like, I got to get my hairline because ain't no pulling up in a ponytail. I've always wanted kanishis though, like in one spot. Can you just do that for me? But it's growing everywhere. So that's kanishis, and we talk about scalp and hair conditions. There's a term for split end, trichosis. Um, so many terms. The term for dandruff is called pedoriasis. And just learn your terms because they're fun. One night, years, maybe 15 years ago, I was watching one of the medical shows, and I think it was Grey's Anatomy, and they said something stat. They think the client got pedoriasis. I was like, what? You just use that term out of nowhere, but that term's like you think the client has dandruff, like in a medical hospital. So that was always cool when I would when I would start to pick up on words that were kind of big words, but it had very small meaning feelings for um, the term. And so hair and scalp conditions, we're going to go over that, and also infection control. Okay. Let's look at hair loss. We got to know how many hairs we lose a day, 50 to 100 hairs. And that's going to be fine, medium, coarse, 50 to 100 hairs. Okay. And we'll lose that normally every day. It's the hair in your brushes. It's not a lot of hair. It's the few strands you find in your brushes. It is not a lot of hair. Okay. And I've already started to talk about the alopecias. Okay. Let's look at alopecia. It says the partial or complete loss of hair from where it typically grows is called alopecia. Okay. The most common type of alopecia, you have androgenetic alopecia, alopecia areata, and postpartum alopecia. That's the one I didn't talk about. We'll learn about it here. Postpartum alopecia is hair loss after a baby. Okay. Hair loss after a baby. Androgenetic alopecia. Okay. Miniaturation, hair miniaturation, and this says terminal hair miniaturation, so that this hair is on the scalp and it has pigment. What happens You don't really see the hair shed, like you're actually losing a hair. But what happened in the transition, the resting, and the shedding phase, we have this parting. And if you guys will part your hair now, you'll see, you're young, you won't see any problems. But here is you can, every time you part or you look at the top of the head, the follicles that hold the hair are starting to shrink. As they shrink, they're gonna push out the hair that's in there. Once they push that hair out, they may close back up. Okay, which causes you to think something's going on. Oh wow, you may have something going on, maybe severely thinning. Okay, so the top of the head for androgenetic alopecia, women would lose hair in the top of their head and also the sides. Sometimes we call those sides edges. All right, so the edge side will lose going back. So it'll be like, okay, it's just, it'll start going back. All right. And then eventually what's thinning in the top will catch up with the sides. And this is why some women just cut it all the way off and they going for a wig replacement. Okay. Androgenetic alopecia. The hair is probably not growing in this state. Okay. And not growing in the state, but it's definitely thinning and it's definitely receding back. Men will mostly go bald. Women will have some hair. All right. I'm taking note. Androgenetic alopecia is common with approximately 50% of people experiencing some degree of hair loss after puberty and as early as teenage years. So we got children that are dealing with androgenetic alopecia. We got children that are dealing with hair thinning, hair breakage. All right. So, you know how kids can pick on kids. I would say not only buy your kids the best, but make sure they go to a great hairdresser. Get everything checked. Make sure they go to a great hairdresser. Okay. Especially since 50% of the kids going through puberty and early as their teenage years, they're losing 50% of hair. That's a big wow. It's at approximately 30 million women in particular hair loss experience hair loss commonly after menopause. There's another thing. You got premenopause, you got menopause, you got postmenopause. You could lose hair in all these components. You can lose hair in all of these components.
Miss Cox, can I run something by you real quick while we're on the subject?
Yes.
So, for example, my mother and two of the girls that work with me, um, all have some type of hair loss or hair thinning, similar to the photo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I told them that they were gonna be my
Yeah.
test subjects, for me to curate like a product or something for them. And for example, my mom, I know where her thinning comes from. I know it's maybe because of age, but I feel like she she sticks to the box dye and her favorite color is red. So my mom's issue is she'll use the box dye and leave it on her hair for way too long. And then the two girls that work with me, they're both age 21. One of them, I have literally seen her like, I know it's more of like a stress factor because she'll like um kind of like scratch at the crown of her head. And I've literally seen her like, I guess because of the nerves or anxiousness, she'll
Mm-hmm.
like literally rip out her hair.
Oh wow.
And the other girl who is also 21, she does like a lot of fantasy colors. So like reds, blues, pinks, purples. Um, and she usually bleaches her hair. So I guess my question is, if I were to curate like a product, would it be okay to for them to all use the same product, or do you think I would have to make a product for each individual?
They all have something in common.
Yes.
And I'm a geek, right?
Mhm.
So here's the thing. Remember we talked about the cuticle, the cortex medulla?
Yes.
The cortex is where the hair color changes.
Okay.
And when you mention fantasy colors, you can't do that without bleach.
Right.
You have to be very careful. I want to know, are these colors done at home or are they done in salons?
No, she does. She's a DIY queen, so
Okay.
she does them at home. Yeah.
Okay. There is a term called weeping oxidation.
Hmm.
Okay, which means um, after a chemical has been processed under the wrong water temperature,
Uh-huh.
the wrong water rhythm,
Hmm.
that means just say if we're at home with coloring hair, especially the bleach, it's in the cortex, right? It
Right.
has to be the pressure of the water in the salon is that strength, that how strong it is, because
Mhm.
it has to take everything out. So it has to pull that residue when you rinse. It needs to be strong enough to rinse it out of the cuticle, but also strong enough to rinse it out of the cortex.
Okay.
What you find is sometimes the product still sits over in the cuticle, a little bit over in the cuticle. So this is why when they shower, it's hot outside or something, you can start to smell the hair color again.
Hmm.
And it's called weeping oxidation. Whenever the temperature, like shower water or any kind of water, gets back on it, a sweat, it starts to regenerate. So it has the brain as once I feel moisture again, I'm going to start activating again. Once you have that activating again, it starts to slowly tear down the cuticle
Yeah,
and
that makes
damage your
sense.
hair.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's not recommended people do relaxers and colors at home, because the water pressure doesn't adequately rinse out the product. Even though in your visual you see the product gone, but
Right.
it literally has some components that sits over in the layers of the cuticle that we call it weeping oxidation. Eventually, you're gonna see this, and I hate to say this term, that residue is going to eat away at the hair,
Gotcha.
and that's with major chemicals. So the first thing I would do if they can't get to the salon, you have to think about, they possibly could be leaving the chemical there, right? So
Hmm.
I need to build something to stabilize, to neutralize that chemical. And so that's why I was saying we do have neutralizers for relaxers. You can use the neutralizers um for your bleaches as well. But I would prefer to use a stabilizer, because the stabilizer is the job is to balance the pH of the hair. So whatever was left in there, you can use your
Hmm.
neutralizer to like get rid of all of that, and
Right.
then come back with what we call the stabilizer. It is, and put it on and just let it sit. It is going to bring the pH of the hair back to where it needs to be, and it's going to have some its healing properties for the hair and scalp as well. And so, but box relaxers have a high level of aniline derivative, which over it's just like you beating something with a stick. Every time you use it, you're just beating your hair up. Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
that's what I tell my mom. Like, Mom, you just need to let the I think my mom is at an age she doesn't want to embrace the gray, and
mhm,
she's always been not a natural redhead, but ever since I still remember the day like she came home red, like girl, from there it was like that was her signature color, her signature look. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, Mom, you gotta let the red go. But she's like, be quiet, Teresa, be quiet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
that
trying to
box
get her.
that box color, yeah, it may
Yeah.
be doing some damage because I can help you mix a formula for gray for her.
Uh-huh.
Um she may like what she likes, but I can eventually help you mix a formula for gray for her, okay? That'll
Okay.
just help her along the way. In that part right there. The young lady who is doing the fantasy colors,
Uh-huh.
her cuticle is probably being just over processed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needs some. All of them can use stabilizer, but
Okay.
that needs to be your ancient Chinese secret.
Okay.
The stabilizer. Um,
And
she
what
needs.
about the lady? Well, the young lady, because like I said, she literally pulls out her hair, and I'm like, girl, you're too young. Like, you're 21. Why are you pulling out your hair? So now, like, when I'm at the shop and I see her scratching her head, I'm like, I'll go, like, I won't slap her hand, but I'll be like, like, stop, stop. You need to stop. You need to find something else to do because
Yeah,
you're going to
she's
mess
gonna
up
be
your
the
hair
one.
follicle,
Yeah, she's gonna be the one with alopecia areata. That
Hmm.
honestly, that's stress. Honestly, that's anxiety, and those are like bidding signs. Like it may be something lying underneath. If we could, she may need just a, a a reset. Women
Yeah.
sometimes just have a lot going on,
Yeah.
and she just may have, I don't even know her, but she needs probably it's a rest period,
Hmm.
and she find another way to channel that stress because that's an early sign of anxiety, just being and almost like you can't control it. So when her hands are free, it goes to her scalp.
Yeah, and I've asked her I recently did she went to like an event, and so we did her hair and makeup. And so I guess because I did her hair, I pretty, I noticed the alopecia on her head, and I was like, what is it that triggers you? And she did say like stress of like family and things like that.
Mhm.
But there's literally areas where you can tell, like where you can see that she rips out her hair.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, like, okay, what do you feel like triggers you to just, pull out your hair?
Hmm.
And she says that it's almost like if she feels like her hair is too thick in the area, I don't know, like she just like she'll like twirl it around her finger and just, pull it. And I'm like, oh my God, like what?
But see, that's what you're fighting against. So no matter
Yeah.
you're telling her the right thing, but in her mind is telling her, oh, this now she's texturizing shears. So, you
Mm,
know, but yeah, and because that itchiness, she probably doesn't have blood in that area, so a good scalp massage will work.
okay.
A good scalp massage will work. Some vitamin E, and this is what I'm gonna say with the vitamin E: get the soft gels, generic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't spend a whole lot of money. Get the vitamin E. I would take a little, how they got the little foam plates, right?
Yeah.
I would take like two of the vitamin E soft gels, put them in the microwave. You're looking at about 36 seconds or less. And then I would take something that would just, with your gloves on, just smush that vitamin E out and I would apply it directly to those thinning areas.
Okay.
And it needs to kind of be done at night. And
Okay.
the reason why I say done at night, I don't want to burn herself. The reason why I say done at night,
Mhm.
because your hair feeds and regenerates at night while you're asleep.
Okay.
So I need her to get in the best mind frame ever, have a great sleep pattern, and she can,
Pretty much create like a night routine, right? Where I'll kind of like wind her down as well.
yeah, and even tell her if she could drink some tea,
Okay.
chamomile, any tea. We can find teas that are calming, so that'll kind of help. relax her and go to sleep as well. And as she sleeps, soon as she knocks out, it's like the little minions come out to start to help rebuild the hair. But that's when the hair feeds, and it does. A lot of parts of our body don't feed until we rest.
Right.
You
Mhm.
know, so I need her to get rest as well. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely she needs to be one. So what we have to do is not trick her mind, not psychology games or anything like that, but we need to find a way that occupies her and relaxes her other than her going into her, her
Her
scalp.
head scout. Yeah,
Yeah.
because even the one that does the fantasy colors, she's
Hmm.
worked with me over 3 years, and I met her when she was 18. And when I met her, she had very, very thin hair at the crown.
Hmm.
And I noticed, like, as soon as she got to work, to the moment we left, she was either drinking Red Bull, coffee,
Hmm.
um, like just very heavily caffeinated drinks. And then she would tell me that she had insomnia. And I'm like, yeah, you have insomnia because you
Drinking
drinking all these drinks during the day. So at night when your body's trying to relax and calm down, like you can't because you have all this caffeine in you. And so because she would be up at night, that's where all these fantasy colors would be coming in because she'll be like, oh, well, since I'm up, I might as well find
Mm.
something to do, and. So I feel like I recommended that she not, kind of like cut back on the caffeine and stuff, and she did, and she's seen, little improvement in her hair. It's not as thin as it used to be when I first met her, but it's she's making progress.
Okay, so that tells me once again, the cuticle, cortex,
Uh-huh.
and medulla. I am more concerned. I'm concerned now with the type of bleach she's using to get those
Okay.
fancy colors. She needs to have a quality product and possibly a quality product that has a plex in it. And when I
Okay.
say plex, like Ola, you heard of Olaplex,
Olaplex.
right?
Olaplex. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but there's other companies that got plexes in there. So what happens as you bleach, as
Mm-hmm.
the hair, it automatically starts to bleach up, take care of the hair. Bleach up, give the hair a hug. So that's what Olaplex really does. It heals the hair while you're going through the bleaching. It protects the hair. So if you're
Got
gonna
you.
bleach, you gotta get you a quality bleach.
Mm.
And I prefer creams and paste over powder
Okay.
because powder is drying and is super stronger. And if she doesn't have a cosmetologist, I really wouldn't trust that she is managing the time. And
Yeah.
so cream bleach, they can lift and do the same thing, but it has conditioners. So it's treating the hair as you are lifting.
Yeah.
And then her colors that she would go behind that, I would make sure they're cream as well, not liquid colors. You know,
Okay.
liquid
Mhm.
colors tend to fade. They're like glosses, and then she'll think, "I need to do it again. I need to do it again." But no. Mm-mm. But even with her, I used to do that in as a way to channel like stresses or whatever. With that, I
Mhm.
didn't talk to people, and so I would go in the bathroom, come out with a whole new style, just hair cut off. And I
Yeah,
come
that's her.
Woo, I feel good.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, you're like, I cut all my hair off. So that too, just I need her to get really, just kind of just find something else to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I tell her. I'm like, I'm gonna need you to y'all way too young. I'm like, not even me with 3 kids do I have, balding like that. I need y'all to get it together. They're like, we
Right.
so stressed. I'm like, about what?
Yeah. And then they may need somebody to say, I hope it ain't no dude.
Yeah.
You're so young, girl. You got so much ahead of you. Can you imagine when you get kids? Or there's so many other things that's prepared to stress you out. Don't
Yes.
let whatever you got going on now because you're not gonna have any hair then.
Right, and that's what I told one of them, the one who rips her hair out. I'm like, I just would hate for you to get, you know, as you age, you're creating trauma to your scalp. So by the time you get to a certain age, like there's not gonna be much of a fix, because you're pulling your hair out at a very young age. Like you need
Yeah,
to stop. Because by the time, you get 30, 40, like, girl, you're not gonna have any hair.
not gonna, and you're telling them exactly right. And this is the hard part. They hire you
Hmm.
to become their cosmetologist, but also get mad at you because they're not seeing any growth.
Growth,
And
yeah.
you're working it, but they are sabotaging it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I spoke to her about. I'm like, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna try to well, I'm going to curate some products for them, but I
Mhm.
told the girl that specifically rips out her hair, like, we gotta find you something to beat that, because like I told her, I would just hate to give you, like, the products, tell you what you need to do, and you're still kind of contradicting the treatment plan,
Right,
because that field to pull your hair out, like, I feel like that's gonna be kind of hard to
right, right.
overcome.
And you'll get frustrated because now their styles will be limited.
Right.
And eventually they may go to extensions, but some people won't even do, you can't get K-tips. You can't, because your hair isn't strong enough. And in order to get a lot of extensions, you got to have some strength in your hair because
Yeah,
just like
that's funny you actually brought that up, because she did ask me, like, oh, do you think in school you're gonna learn extensions? And I said, I'm not really sure if we learn extensions or not, but I do feel like the health of your hair right now is not even suitable for
hmm
extensions, because if anything, the weight of the extensions can even pull your hair out even more, that
yeah,
you're.
you're absolutely right. So
Mhm.
I would keep me posted on
Yeah,
that.
I'm not. I had already spoken to them about it, because I was like, "Oh, it's a school project." Da, 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 da. So in their mind, they're like, "Oh yeah, she got to get it done because it's due for school." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Good one.
um. So yeah, and then my mom too. I think that's gonna be a hard one, but I know my mom, when she starts seeing results, because she takes like the hair growth vitamins for like skin, hair,
Mhm.
and nails, and she recently started taking I think I want to say it's pumpkin seed oil. And
Okay.
so her hair grows. She has a lot of new growth, but again, she's so stuck on that box red dye. Like at
Mhm.
this point, it's like, do I need to hide the boxes from you? Or um
Yeah, it's cool. Like with her, it's not that bad, but I would want to make sure that the water pressure was fine, or she'll have to shampoo a couple of times. But she'll really need to make sure she's hydrating after that box because
Okay.
that box just leaves so much residue on the hair. Um, and if she ever puts heat on it, it's just causing like double trouble.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
my mom flat irons her hair. My mom's hair, my hair is curly, but if my hair is curly, my mom's is like um coily.
ah,
So she straightens her hair a lot.
okay,
And I've even told her too, like, since you straighten your hair, probably, I'm not even exaggerating, probably every day. I told her too, like, maybe you should look into getting like a keratin treatment, that
yeah,
leaves it
that would
straight.
be that would be ideal.
Yeah.
That way, her color, it'll make her color look better as well. Um,
Okay.
with the other two young ladies, the last question: are they on any medication, birth control, or anything?
Um, Neither of them are on birth control, but the one that is pulling at her hair, she is looking to conceive. She wants to have children in the near future. Um, so um, I know that much about her. She did mention to me before. Um, I don't think she has PCOS, but I guess in the midst of her trying to conceive, she's gone with doctors and things like that. Um, I can check back in with her like on Thursday when we see each other again. But I remember her telling me previously that it's a little bit more challenging for her to conceive, but I don't know the medical reason as to why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I asked that because medications also could play a part in her itchiness, because I'm going
Yeah.
back. And then, those nerves are in the base of the brain, so whenever there's no blood circulation, it's probably going to be, her scalp is probably going to be tight and itchy. So she does need to have a massage on the scalp a couple of times a day.
Okay.
A couple of times a day. And I will take the same vitamin E oil and massage it into those areas. And vitamin E, excuse me, it's like hair food. It's
Okay.
good hair food, okay? So it helps nourish your hair and scalp and also provides an opportunity for the hair to grow. Um, yeah, so we just find out about medications. The last thing I wanted to add, or two things, just in observance. Are these young ladies, the younger ones, are they overweight?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. And the rest of it, taught you how to answer, go personal with them or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't want to say because I'm not a doctor of
Right.
area of PCOS, but possibly ask about her cycles.
Okay.
Yeah, ask about, and then ask, when did she start? Has it always been consistent? Those type of things. And then I want you to look at her skin. So although you're a cosmetologist, her skin and her nails are going to give you confirmation. So she has dry skin, kind of patchy skin, where something's going on with the skin as far as the texture of the skin, around the chin, cheek area. Um, she has more hair than usual. Most of the time, those are signs of endocrine hormonal issues and possibly could fall into PCOS.
Okay.
Yeah. And so life is not over, but she asked the doctor to check PCOS, check the ovaries, and they can give her medication or they can do a process. She has to let them know, hey, I'm ready to have a baby. It's crazy, ain't it? And then once she lets them know, they're able to give her treatments according to what she's been diagnosed with. And before long, she'll have a baby.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I tell like, girl, you waiting before a baby comes into play because if you pulling your hair out now, kids, that's a whole
But
new ball game.
you recognizing that was an early sign that something's going on. And so you're so essential. You're so essential. So we're not doctors, but we can say, hey, these are the factors I'm looking at. To you, is pointing towards all one place where you can tell them, I asked your doctor to check this out, you know?
Right.
And then when she come back and say, oh, Teresa, da, 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 you can say, yeah, I'm the biggest. Yeah, and that builds trust,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
you know what you're talking about, and we can go from there. But yeah, have those things checked out, and if any of medications could definitely be a factor,
Okay.
and medications, especially the itching and stuff, but the stress, I heard it as soon as you said it, I said, yeah, something's going on, and I hate that they're 21 going through it, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I told them. Like, you guys, what is going on? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I got 4 kids, married. I go to school. I go to work. Like, that's stressful, but I'm not pulling out my hair.
right, right. So yeah, we need them to go get that checked out
Yeah.
and report back because the class want to know.
Okay, definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely am because with helping us make our own products and things like that.
Mhm.
And I
And
know
I'm
I think I had
excited.
mentioned it to you. You were like, start looking at family friends to see who you can um be your test subjects. I'm like, ooh, I got 3 people right here. They all got
Yeah.
something similar going on.
And we've already started researching on oils, but research some herbs and what we can do. And I'm so excited. Um, we can get some mason jars
Mhm.
and infuse the oil from the herbs. Put the
Okay.
herbs in the jars, and then we'll put our base oils in there, and we'll let it sit or we'll boil it, right? And so what happens, you would infuse that oil with those properties that help against hair loss.
Okay.
So now your Google or your Chat GPT is now your research is working for you. I need herbs. I want to take a look at herbs that will help with hair loss, you know?
Okay. Mhm.
Um, and we didn't even get into more in depth. We can look and see when you see this picture too, androgenetic alopecia. I
Mhm.
would ask about the parents and the
Okay.
grandparents and the aunties and stuff, because even it could be a DNA trait that it's all of them. You need to find about their background.
Okay.
The
Mhm.
one that's doing the bleaching, she is not going to have any hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need her to pause. You and her can go on a field trip
Mhm.
to Cosmo Prof or something, right?
Mhm.
And look at what you suggest her to use. If you're going to do this, I need you to use some better products, because at
Okay.
that point, I'm able to call and consult the manufacturer. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead of just doing DIY and we're just all over the place, I'm able to contact the manufacturer and tell them this is what's going on, and they can professionally tell me how to use the product to fix what they got going on. So a lot of time using professional products from professional beauty supply stores just become it's worth it, just because of you got a phone number you can reach out to, or you got
Right.
me. But
Mhm.
I definitely would look at this. There's a shampoo, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
put her the young lady. Man, let me do a stop share
Mhm.
really, really quick. I hope my students are in. This is a good lesson for everybody. But
I'm
let
sorry, I
me
didn't mean to sidetrack you. It was just like, oh, she's talking about this. I need to bring this up.
talking about, yeah, we're talking about, how I am. I'm going over to my Facebook page. One of my former students, and she said she just celebrated 20 years. I'm like, don't tell nobody that. Now they know how old I am. This young lady here, amazing. Tangela Culture. She's in the Raleigh area. Well, she was in the Raleigh area. I think she's in the Raleigh area, right? I want you to make sure you take a picture of her screenshot. She just went back to become a trichologist, a hair loss specialist.
Okay.
And yeah, 20 years. And I was like, it's been that long. Get her number. All right. And what happens, she developed a product, that is actually growing the hair, but she developed the product based on knowledge of what could possibly be going on. And so,
Okay.
and it's a popular oil, same thing you want to do,
Mhm.
right? But your videos, your focus now when you're researching is about hair restoration.
Okay.
And so, and when they talk about, there are something called beta blockers. And so these blockers will kind of detoxify the scalp and cause hair to continue to grow instead of them being the follicle being blocked, whether through like menopause and stuff like that,
Right.
just going through. Um, but yeah, make sure you follow her. And she just become a trichologist maybe a couple of years ago, but her products are like in the realm of hair loss in Memphis. Like everybody is trying to get their hands on her product.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can even use it as an inspiration. You could do the same thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
may see you going back to be a trichologist.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, girl, what is going on now? Now that I guess in school, like you said, try to associate the things that we're learning
Uh-huh.
with everyday people. Now it's like, ooh, okay, I see it. Like, oh, I know what this is now. Or
Yeah.
I kind of have an idea of what is going on to an extent. Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be amazing. I like stuff like that, case studies, because I feel like that's how you learn. Even though you do have the book, that's how you actually learn. You know,
Right.
so
Mhm.
kudos to you. Kudos to you. So those are, and we were introducing to alopecias. I just want to reference a little bit in the book on my chapter set. So let me see if I can go back to it a little bit. And remember those alopecias that I put in the chat? A lot of those are majorly affect women who will probably be our major audience. Just make sure whether it's this lifetime or later in life, just please make sure that you never forget these two subjects, because this is where your clients are going to live. They're going to always have questions, and so it's going to be amazing for you to make sure that you're taking care of business. And clients, they will get rid of the trends, they will fall into a trend, but at the end of the day, they want their healthy hair. And if you can master taking care of someone's hair, you would be absolutely amazing. Okay. And so we were here, androgenetic alopecia. We talked about approximately 30 million women in particular experience hair loss. So if you're looking at where's the money at in the industry, the money is here. 30 million women, that's my market that experience hair loss. It doesn't matter what color, creed they are. Let me make sure I take some classes on hair loss. This is why I want to go back to school to become a trichologist, because I'm just following the money. All right. So when the wigs are all in the trash, people want to take care of their hair. Okay. It says male pattern hair loss generally involves thinning and or baldness in a horseshoe shape, while women pattern hair loss typically appears as a diffuse thinning over the crown, top of the head, and temporal areas. Let's highlight this in pink. In men, male pattern baldness is like a horseshoe. So the top of their head, they're gonna lose hair. All right. With women, the top and the crown, well, in men, top and crown, they'll lose hair. This is why you see men with hair around on top of the ears and in the back, and you were like, they still trying to hold on. Yes. In women, our hair thins, we don't necessarily bald. All right. And so the top and the crown is thin, and then the temples, your edges area is thin. And so you may pull the hair up in a ponytail and you can see the scalp. All right. And so this is where a lot of people will have a focus. You can slow some things down if you really know what you're talking about. Okay. Alopecia areata, round or irregular patches. I'm gonna put that in blue. Okay. 6.8 million people in the United States affected. Mm. The scalp appears normal in the areas of hair loss. All right. Now, here we go with alopecia areata. I told you this is a form of stressful alopecia. Once you remove the stress, you're going to see your hair come back. And this is a sad number. Okay. 30 million women um, have some form of hair loss experience, commonly after menopause. That's a great focus for you. Also, 6.8 million of those women have alopecia areata during the lifetime. And so, when I talk about you guys becoming cosmetologists, it may be good to also partner with therapists. Okay. Your salon or spa can be the place where they come and relax. But bring a therapist in and have a girls' night out and bring a therapist. What happens, they get to find a safe space and you're really helping them help you. All right. So they may not have anyone to talk to. So they have a safe space or someone that could talk to them about some of their life improvements or just listen. But 6.8 million deal with alopecia areata. That's something you got to be like, whoa. More advanced forms of alopecia areata fall into alopecia totalis, okay? Which means a lot of times you see this when people lose all of their scalp hair, their bald, all of their scalp hair. Terminal hair scalp, all of their scalp hair just gone. Okay, universalis is the loss of terminal hair on the body and scalp. So they don't have underarm hair. They may not have leg hair. They may not have brows, and they may not have scalp hair. All right. So when you see that, that falls on the areata, alopecia areata, but you have the kind just round irregular patches. Then you have the kind that the whole, all of my hair comes out. And then you have the kind where not only my scalp hair, but my body hair is removed as well. It can, work in people of all ages. That's what we need to know. It does not pick and choose. It can begin in childhood. This is another factor, give students, kids an opportunity to express themselves. It'll be less stress on them. Postpartum alopecia, temporary hair loss after pregnancy. We're going to have clients that are pregnant at different times. And so this is a temporary hair loss. Temporary means it can be grown again. You're just chilling for a minute, okay? It says most people experience temporary hair loss 1 to 5 months after delivery, all right? A higher number of hairs enter the telogen phase, which causes hair loss. All right. So now we got menopause and you trying to push something. Okay. Typically the cycles regulate within 6 to 12 months. And so all the way up to your child is 1 year old, you may have clients that deal with postpartum alopecia. Okay. Which means when you go to classes and shows, I'm particularly probably taking classes on how to deal with clients with alopecia. Okay. And so that's always something to check out. This affects a lot of women as well. And it just seems like a shock wave. It goes from the growing stage and it just dumps a whole lot of hair into the shedding phase. All right. And so that's always something that we got to check out. It'll give you great understanding to what you have going on. All right. Any questions? All right. And today, hair loss treatments, most of them are approved by the FDA. Okay. But please note, FDA has minimum requirements for a lot of these products and companies. Italy has some of the most strictest, and I'm going to say strict, China probably has it too, strict requirements for products to go to market. All right. The United States, not so. Even though, I'm not going to diminish the process, but if something says fat free, you can put fat free on the bottle and fat free on the chips as long as you keep it under certain grams of fat. It's still fat. It just didn't, it came right under the option to use fat free. All right. And you just have to, everything you see is not always what it is, but the FDA, do your research. All right. Do your research. We talked about minoxidil being a topical medication applied to the scalp. It stimulates hair growth and stops the shedding. All right. We have probably been familiar with Rogaine. Okay. That product, but that product's, if you don't get to the solution, once you're out of the product or don't apply the product as you've been doing, or you stop using it, you start to see that hair loss come back, y'all. Okay, so it's good to make sure everything is good. Finasteride is an oral prescription medication. You cannot prescribe this, but you can tell your clients to ask your doctors about it. All right. These medications slow the rate of hair loss, and some users even experience hair growth. You know, me, I'm going to go on the organic side of things. And so I want to find teas and herbs and all kind of stuff. Um, teas, herbs, all kind of stuff for hair growth. And your clients are taking medications. Remember those medications. Find out what the side effects of those medications are. Okay, even if it's topical, and even if it's something that's taken by mouth. All right. At the bottom here, what you have now, you have a lot of people who are doing surgical procedures like hair transfer, or we call it hair transplants. So they will take your hair is thickest in the back of your head. So they would carve out a piece of scalp from ear to ear. Still have the follicles in there. And what they would do, of course, they would shave, carve out that piece. What they would do, they would transplant the follicles from the back and make an incision and push it into the top of the head. So a lot of people are going through drastic services. They have money to just do whatever they want to do. But I have to still teach it to you that a lot of people are opting for surgery, especially men. Okay, especially men. And sometimes after 2-3 months, you can't even see nothing. But I've seen my friend go from the 4th month up. Oh, he on the chain. He got fuzz. He moving around now. Okay, so I think after a year, you'll really start to see a lot of hair growth in that area for him. And he just wanted to fill in his receding hairline. And so that's what he wanted to do. So I want you guys to look over hair loss treatments. Okay. We'll pick back up on page 155 on Thursday, but you'll be in the building tomorrow with Miss Anthony and myself. And so if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am going to be working on home base for a little bit so I can have your hours tomorrow. And what else do I have? I'm going to try to find something else about hair loss as well. But Teresa, get you a notebook and put those 3 people down and just get to work, okay? Get your research on. All right. Y'all have a blessed and amazing day. We're closing out at 11:49. Whoop, 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 whoop. And so I see y'all in the building tomorrow. Y'all